So I have just seen a video, right? So it's an interview, I think, with STV, so Scottish TV, STV, asking Keir Starmer, I think it was roughly a week ago or something, about Scottish independence and the SNP. And he went, the SNP only used independence as a distraction tactic from their record in office. What a stupid thing to say. Its entire existence is based on Scottish individual national representation. It is founded on the fact of having a purely Scottish identity. It has been calling for independence or further devolution for the entirety of its existence. You cannot say that the Scottish National Party only wants independence as a distraction tactic. It is such a stupid thing to say. It's unfathomable that he thinks the only reason that Scotland wants independence is to distract from the SNP's record. It is absolute lunacy, quite frankly. And to think otherwise, you're quite frankly insane. They deserve a referendum. I have my own opinion on it. I'm mostly for it. I do have some concerns around Trident and the fact that that's obviously based in Scotland. That would be a complex scenario. But they do deserve the independence vote as far as I'm concerned, because the vote in 2014 was somewhat close. I don't think it was as close as Brexit, but it was close. So a lot of them voted to remain in the United Kingdom on the heavy basis that meant remaining in the European Union, because they didn't want to have all the complications of, reapplying as an independent state. It would not have the same opt-outs that the UK has with currency and all sorts of other things, the Schengen area, for instance, and things like that. So obviously a heavy part of Scotland remaining in the UK then was firstly due to the fact it meant staying in the European Union, which 2 years later they got pulled out of, even though Scotland was heavy remain. That alone should have allowed them an independence vote, because they, by Scotland, had heavily voted remain. More than any other country or area was heavy remain on its own, and was dragged into Brexit based on the votes of everywhere but Scotland. So that in its own should have justified another referendum as far as I'm concerned. Another reason, but yeah, that, is quite a heavy reason. Another reason is, during the time that they were given their independence referendum, it was on very dodgy circumstances. So it was given to them without any significant prior notice and just thrust at them. There was no possibility for a campaign. There was no opportunity for people to find out more, to discuss what it would mean, and to really understand what that would mean for them as individuals and Scottish people alike. It was given, it was rushed deliberately by politicians in Westminster to deliberately stop it succeeding. Had it been given a proper opportunity to stage a proper campaign, during a period that they didn't have to worry about European Union membership, that would be a whole different kettle of fish. And I do think it is very, very important that Scotland gets a referendum that gives the possibility for significant campaign and debate on both sides, so the Scottish public are informed and not misled. And they also need to obviously discuss exactly what that would mean. Would an independent Scotland try and join the European Union, and things like that. But yeah, I do heavily think that Scotland deserves, if anything, is entitled to an independence referendum. As an English person, obviously my opinion has very little meaning in this debate. It's up to the Scottish people, but my only reservation would be the nuclear defences, where Russia is concerned. But other people argue that's just us being an intermediary with the US and initial protection for them with Trident. And our nuclear arms kind of being based in Scotland. But that's not to say that if there was a Scottish independence, we'd have the opportunity to move that towards England or have some kind of deal to keep that stuff there. Because obviously we'd have to be quite close allies with Scotland. That's a dead cert that would be the case. But yeah, quite frankly, they deserve a referendum, and the fact that the government get to decide whether they're allowed one is ridiculous. The United Kingdom and England are never going to give Scotland a referendum. So why on earth is it even legal under international law, to be completely honest, that England, basically a majority English parliament, can decide if Scotland gets an independence vote? It is utterly abhorrent. Scotland should decide if it wants to stay. It should have the devolved legalities to put through a referendum. Obviously, I'm not saying they should get one every year, but I'm saying they should get one now and not have to have one in a lifetime. What absolute nonsense is one in a lifetime? I mean, Brexit alone and England being heavy Remain should have given them, quite frankly, the entitlement to have a, independence referendum alone, as far as I'm concerned. So I do think Scotland deserves a referendum. Obviously, I wouldn't vote in it. I'm not Scottish. But, and I would have one or two concerns about how that would look. But that, my opinion doesn't matter. I'm English. I'm not Scottish. The Scottish people are entitled to their own decision on independence. They should not have to rely on England giving them permission.